Man, I just hit start. I know there's hot coffee sitting right outside that door. So you guys invite a friend. I'll be right back. And here I am. All right, so Leviticus chapter 22, verse 10. No outsider shall eat the holy offering. One who dwells with the priest or hired service shall not eat the holy offering. But if the priest buys a person with his money, he may eat it, and one who is born in his house may eat his food. If the priest's daughter is married to an outsider, she may not eat the holy offerings. But if the priest's daughter is a widow or divorced and has no child, and has returned to her father's house as in her youth, she may eat her father's food, but no outsider shall eat it. So just starting off, the priest's allotment of the sacrifice was for his family only. And so it's just clarifying whose family, who is not. And to leave and to cleave, the idea there is that once a man was grown, he was on his own. And once a woman was married, she was on, not her own, but she was with her husband. She is now officially part of her husband's family, no longer part of the priest's family. And so this is just clarifying those things. You'll notice that a hired servant, someone that he's bought with his own money. So the slave we've talked about before in that Hebrew sense of the word, they're part of the family is the idea. All right, verse 14. If a man eats the holy offering unintentionally, then he shall restore the holy offering to the priest and add 1/5 to it. They shall not profane the holy offerings of the children of Israel, which they offer to the Lord, or allow them to bear the guilt of trespass when they eat their holy offerings. For I, the Lord, sanctify them. Now, think of David. David ate of the holy food. He ate of the showbread, right? That's the bread that sat on that table inside the tabernacle. Now, remember, Jesus made the point of that bread in that story that David's life was more precious to God than following these rules. Now, the rules had a purpose. They were important. They weren't to be neglected. They weren't to be discarded. They weren't to be, anyway lowered in their importance and significance. But at the end of the day, God cares about people. And so that's something to remember, is that we have many traditions, many ways we do things, and there's a reason why we do it the way we do it. But at the end of the day, we minister to people. And now we're not talking about sinning, right? We're talking about order. We're talking about tradition. We're talking about symbolism. We're not talking about sinning to help people, but we're talking about letting go of some things that are important. Our traditions are important to us, but they are just traditions. Church order is very important, but it's just a thing. And so it's just that reminder that God cares about the people first and foremost. Verse 17, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to Aaron and his sons, all the children of Israel, and say to them, Whatever a man of the house of Israel or the strangers of Israel who offers a sacrifice for any of his vows or for any of his free will offerings, which they offer to the Lord of this burnt offering, clarifying which offering, you shall offer of your own free will a male without blemish from the cattle, from the sheep, or from the goats. Whatever has a defect you shall not offer, for it shall not be acceptable on your behalf. Whoever offers a sacrifice of a peace offering to the Lord, to fulfill his vow, or a free will offering from the cattle or sheep, it must be perfect to be accepted. There shall be no defect in it. Those that are blind or broken or maimed or have an ulcer or eczema or scabs, you shall not offer to the Lord, nor make an offering by fire of them on the altar to the Lord. Either a bull or a lamb that has any limb too long or short, you may offer as a free will offering, but for a vow it shall not be accepted. You shall not offer to the Lord what is bruised or crushed or torn or cut, nor shall you make any offering of them in your land. Nor from a foreigner's hand shall you offer any of these as the bread of your God, because the corruption is in them, and defects are in them. They shall not be accepted on your behalf. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, verse 27, when a bull or a sheep or a goat is born, it shall be 7 days with its mother, and from the 8th day thereafter it shall be accepted as an offering made by fire to the Lord. Whether a cow or ewe, do not kill both her and her young on the same day. When you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Lord, offer it of your own free will, and on the same day it shall be eaten. You shall eat none of it until morning. I am the Lord. Last few verses. Therefore you shall keep my commandments, perform them. I am the Lord. You shall not profane my holy name, but I will be hallowed among the children of Israel. I am the Lord who sanctifies you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. So here he's just talking about what's an acceptable offering, what's not an acceptable offering, and some of the different circumstances. So you'll notice that like the one that has a limb too long or too short, a minor defect, well, it's okay to have that be a free will offering. You know, if you're just offering it just to offer something extra, well, it's okay that it's a little bit off, but that's just for free will. Now, if this is one that you're obliged to give, you have to give it like a sin offering, whatnot, for a vow, well, those ones you need to offer a full, perfect lamb, because only a perfect lamb can atone for sin. And so much of this is firstly and foremostly foreshadowing of Jesus. It's looking forward to that perfect, spotless lamb. And so that's why we can only offer perfect, spotless lambs. Secondly, though, this is also a principle of offering God our best. You see, it's funny where the old story, I think Pastor Chuck used to tell it, you know, where once upon a time, you know, a cow gives birth to twins. And the man is so excited that he's just like, you know, I'm going to give one of them to the Lord. You know, we're so blessed to have these two baby, you know, bulls born. I'm going to give one to the Lord. And then after a week or two, it turns out that one of the bulls dies. And then the husband comes home to his wife and says, honey, I've got bad news. God's bull died. And the irony behind that is just showing that, you know, when you had the two, he was blessed, he wanted to give one, but when one dies, well, obviously God's bull died and your bull lived. And, you know, that's in human nature. You know, not that the church isn't grateful when people donate things that we need. But another example, I'm pretty sure I remember Pastor Chuck giving, is the idea of someone, you know, has this old vacuum and it's starting to wear out. And so they go and they buy themselves a new vacuum, and then they bless the church with the old vacuum that they no longer wanted to use anymore because it was falling apart. There's something in human nature where we want to give God our leftovers. We want to give God what is, you know, our pocket change. In fact, that's something I brought up when we first came to our church and we brought two churches together. One thing I put an end to is passing of the offering plate. Now, for what it's worth, I've actually heard great biblical arguments for passing an offering plate. So it's not like there's a right way or a wrong way. I know many Calvary chapels will have a box, but I know some that pass a plate. They talk about how Paul in 1 Corinthians actually tells them to take up an offering, which requires you to go and take it up. So it's not about the right way or the wrong way. But one thing I mentioned is that, you know, it can be stumbling to see what other people are giving. And I gave the example of, although I don't know what people have, I get stumbled by the idea of giving God our pocket change, of opening up our wallets and just seeing what's in there and giving God a little something, something. That's the idea with these sacrifices. What they had to give God perfect sacrifices. These were things that actually hurt to give because you're giving up good, perfect, spotless lambs and bulls and rams and all of this. It wasn't just, well, that one's probably not going to make it. We can give the Lord that one. You see, this, the whole idea about these acceptable and unacceptable offerings is, one, it has to be a picture of that perfect, spotless lamb, Jesus Christ. But two, it enforces this practice of giving God our best, not our leftovers. Giving God our best and not what's convenient to give. That's why I still believe it's a biblical principle to tithe your first fruits. Right off the bat, you get paid. Determine what you're giving then, not at the end of the month when you see what's left. Be intentional with giving. Be thoughtful with giving. And I think that's kind of the idea in 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians. Those are two books that have some great passages on giving. And there was one specific point. It talks about, now see, I have to flip there so I don't say it wrong. The two chapters on giving, I think the best New Testament teachings on giving are found in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, where it talks about taking up a collection. Oh, there we go. On the first day of the week, storing up as he may prosper. And so the idea there is it's something that's planned. They had a time, we're going to do it on this day of the week, and it's proportional as you prosper, and no collections when I come. They actually kept it private. But I think that's the idea, is that giving should be something that we're planning on, that we've been thoughtful about, and we do at a specific time. So when we give to God, let it be intentional. Let it be something that we've planned out and not our leftovers. I think that's the big emphasis that I was looking for, was it's something thought out. It's not just, well, this sheep's probably not going to make it, let's give it to the Lord. But no, like, this is what I think I should give the Lord. We're going to set it aside right now so that we give God what we've prayerfully considered to give him. And then whatever's left is left. And isn't it great, the idea of giving to God first in faith and then trusting the end of the month to the Lord? See, I'd much rather let the end of my month be in the Lord's hands rather than what's left at the end of the month being giving to the Lord. Give to the Lord first, put the rest of the month in his hands. Option 2, wait till the end of the month and let God get whatever's left. You can see the difference. And so that is also foreshadowed in all these acceptable and unacceptable offerings. It's just the heart we have with giving and that mindset of giving to God first. And I'll just close on this thought, guys, is that, you see, I think giving is one of the most trying and testing areas in Christians because people get very defensive. Why? Because money makes a big difference in our lives. And if we're trusting in our money, we get really scared and defensive when someone tries to take it from us. And when we're trusting in the Lord, money's no longer that big of a deal. Now, obviously, some of us are doing much more better off where we don't worry about money, and other of us, you strain and you think about all your purchases. And that puts you in a place of really testing your faith all the more. But the principle remains the same. When we give to God first, we put God first. I'm not saying how much to give, but the concept of giving to God first, of prayerfully choosing to give first, it changes our mindset on who's in control. When we let the money dictate who's in control, it dictates our lives. When we tell the money what to do, right? I think it's like Zig Ziglar, money guy. He said something along the lines of either you're going to tell your money what to do or your money's going to tell you what to do. And that's very true. And so be intentional. You tell your money what to do. And you give to the Lord as you prayerfully see fit, and do it first and foremost. And trust God to take care of the rest. All right, there you guys go. Have a great day. It's Wednesday, midweek service at Revival Church, Psalm 48. Come out and join us if you can. God bless you guys. Ooh, and free concert tomorrow. Josh Snodgrass is coming down. So come join us tomorrow at 7. I'll see you guys around.